Hey everybody, welcome back to the cave. We have before us here kind of a familiar character if you've seen some of my other videos. It's Kukri I polished up, and lately I kind of been in a mood to do some kydex work with thermoplastic, making sheaths and scabbards and whatever for things. And this doesn't have a scabbard, so I said, okay, well, we're going to get you some new clothes, buddy, and we'll see how this all works out. First thing I had to do was make a little template. And for a knife like this, it's a little bit odd because when you think about drawing it out of a scabbard, you know, if you went just like this, you see you'd run into trouble. But what happens is that you can get on the piece of cardboard with the blade and kind of you trace out the blade as is, and then you kind of move along like this, imagining that you're drawing it out and making sure that the contact points are accounted for. And what ends up happening is that you just slowly trace out a curve down here that is going to give you clearance for the thing to come out. So that's the theory, and we'll see what in practice actually happens. So what I did was take some kydex thermoplastic and cut out a template, or cut out some pieces from this template, and what I did was just trace out my main cardboard template and added maybe 3/4 of an inch, ½ inch so on the sides, because what we're going to be doing is stapling actually along here just to get it all lined up. Then we're going to heat it up and see what we can do. So the staples and all this area here are temporary. So what I've been doing is just taking some ordinary heavy-duty staples, and this is pretty thick stuff here that I got. It won't go all the way through with just a regular staple gun, so what I've been doing is kind of the slow way, but it certainly does work, is taking a little soldering iron and lining up the staple the way I want it and just melting it in there. And it takes a moment to get hot enough to do something, but eventually it will go down in there. Yep. See if we're making any progress. Yep. And get one side to go down and then the other. Once it gets hot enough, it starts going. Well, I see things bubbling, so that may be a good sign. There we go, I can feel it moving. There's smoke rising off of it, so that's also a good sign. There it goes. Down you go. Eventually. Yeah, I think I better get out another little doodad there just to kind of help it out. It's kind of a pathetic soldering iron, but that's what I got at the moment. Okay, so there's the staple in there, and it just barely comes through the other side, so I'm just kind of giving it an initial bend and giving it a tap with the hammer. Just snap the little claws over. And like that. So we're going to be going along evenly spaced intervals, or however spaced they happen to be. And then we'll bring you back and we'll start heating this thing up and forming it. And we'll see what happens. Okay, well, now I got it all stapled up here, and I've actually started forming things. What I've been doing is you just heat up along the back side here, because that's going to be the sharpest bend, and putting the blade in, heating it up a little bit, and then kind of clamping it, letting it cool like that. And I'll do a little bit here and show you what's going on. I think I'm down to, let's see, where am I down to? Right about there, yep. So just heat it up. Okay, let's push it in a little more. Yep, there she goes. And we just do a little forming like that. And continue the process all the way down. So I'll bring you back when I got some more of that done. Alright, well, we got the edge area trimmed off. And yes, it's now in two pieces. It's a clamshell, which was the original idea. I wasn't going to rivet the thing together or leave it stapled, but what I did, of course, was get that all the way in there eventually with the staples on, and just continue to heat as I showed in the last segment. And now the thing is, well, how do you join it together? Well, I'm going to take a hint from the original scabbard of another kukri that I had, which was clamshell design made out of wood. And what they done was put leather over it so that it acts like kind of like a clamp and gives some flexibility for the thing to come apart. I'll be careful not to stab myself there. And it's a little awkward at the moment because it didn't join together, but let's see if I can. So what ends up happening is that there's a little bit of flex, and the clamshell can open as you draw it out, even though right now there's enough clearance for it to come out without much having to expand there or come apart. It's kind of like that. Hard to hold it together, but you get the idea. So I'll be cutting out some canvas and using that rather than leather. and coating it with probably polyurethane glue. So I'll bring you back when I got the canvas cut out, and we'll start putting it together. Alright, well, we got the canvas out, and I just wrapped that in plastic just to kind of hold it together with used a little tape, keep the clamshell in shape. So we got the hand stitcher out, and we're just stitching along, pulling it tight. It's a slow process, but it ought to turn out okay if I do everything right. You just pull that back, put a little tension on it, give it a snug, and pull it along. And it'll be interesting to see what happens when I get to that bend, but we'll get there eventually. I'll just do a couple more stitches so you can see what's going on. These things are awful handy when it comes to stitching together heavy material. Normally you'd use it for leather, but works for canvas as well, or whatever you got. That's waxed nylon thread, if you want to call it thread. And here's where you really do need three hands to get it pulled tight and put it through. It may be hard to see, but there's a little, it forms a little loop when you pull back, and then you just pass this end through the loop, pull it back through, put some friction on that, tighten it up, and pull the pucker out of it, and so on down the length of it. So we'll come back when I've done that part, and we'll move on to the next thing. Well, got it all sewed up, and what I did was put some E6000 into the seam and let it dry before I trimmed it out. And what we're going to try and do is turn it inside out so that the seam is on the inside. We'll see if this is even remotely going to work without too much of a struggle. This ought to be interesting. Well, it might be working. May not even have to get out the pliers.